And happy Sunday. This is Football for Sunday pregame show presented by Superdraft. I am your host, Shawn Stewart, and we are ready to kick off right now. It's actually on the dot right now. So I'm going to have our good friend, Mr. Chris Wood, who'll be on in a couple of minutes, by the way. And we are also streaming on Facebook Live, YouTube, and Twitch as well. So football for Sunday is not just a pregame show. We also talk about fantasy football, DFS, and not only with the player props, we're also going to be doing the player props for the earlier games. That's like the 1 o'clock to the 4:25, the Sunday night football, and also Monday night football this season. So you'll get a great kick out of it. All right. That's a message. Huh. All right. So got a couple of great games, and matter of fact, I'm looking at my fantasy football team right now. I'm actually up by 5, so 31-48, and the opponent has 26-20. So, all right, here we go. Okay, so Chris about to make the line. Okay. So if you have any questions about your team, NFL related questions, all that other goodies, hey, feel free to put it on the comment section. By the way, all right. So I'm going to give you the great games that I'm looking forward to as of week one. Of course, today is the 21st anniversary of September 11th. We don't want to forget about that. As I remember, I was in elementary school at the time when that thing happened. It was a travesty, and of course, it was nonstop. Okay, he did. Okay, he did get the impact. All right. So yeah, I'll never forget the day that it did happen, and it was a travesty. All right. So you have your games for the 1 o'clock. So game I'm looking for is the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cincinnati Bengals. That's one of them. Because we're talking about the 1 o'clock games now. Then the other one I'm looking for is the Patriots and Dolphins. Now, the coordinator for the Patriots, well, not a surprise, is the Matt Patricia. That has just been announced as I was doing my research on the other stuff. Oh boy. So then you also got the 49ers and Bears. I can see that as a blowout, but God knows what, because it is the first week of the NFL season anyway. So anything can happen in the first week. Then, of course, Ravens and Jets. Zach Wilson will not be playing because he's dealing with an injury, and Lamar Jackson has signed a contract. So that will be also played. So that game will be in New Jersey. Then you got the Saints and Falcons. Then you got the Colts and the Texans. As a matter of fact, I do have Michael Pittman Jr. on my fantasy football team because he should get a lot of catches. Now you have Matt Ryan as your quarterback as well. As a matter of fact, as I was looking to it, Michael Pittman is estimated to have 14.92 points. So he is, of course, the Colts top target, and he had a good amount with Matt Ryan because he recorded catches on first and third possessions, and his last two catches came on a back-to-back play in a later drive, and that was going to 17 yards to back Buccaneers 1 yard line, by the way. So this should be a very great amount. And also, I can't forget about John and Taylor because those are the two that I can look at if you do have somebody from the Colts. All right. Now, your top 10 quarterbacks, like I said, I was doing my research. I just got my tablet fixed Friday. Oops. And also, this pregame show is also brought to you by Nerd Focus. Nerd Focus is not just your ordinary energy drink, but it's also an energy drink that focuses on the brain. helps you not to crash, and it's on our website at sportsforamerica.com. You can click that link and you can purchase your product, how many products you want for your focus as well. All right. So it is 10:05 right now. So we just got in 5 minutes. All right, let's see here. All right, so just get out the way. Oops, that's the wrong one. All right, there we go. We have reported that. So I have Josh Allen. Josh Allen gave me 31 points. So that was great because I have Josh Allen and Russell Wilson. Even though Josh Allen almost didn't have 300 yards, he had three touchdowns, two interceptions, 56 rushing yards. So that's not bad for the first week. So I'll take that. And then also, as you're looking at it, you also got Lamar Jackson as he's facing against the Jets. I can see him putting up numbers. Then you got Jalen Hurts, by the way, as he's going to face against the Detroit Lions. Then you got Justin Herbert as that's going to be a shootout between him and Derek Carr. I can't wait for that one. Then you got Mahomes. He's facing against the Arizona Cardinals because, as a matter of fact, they're at Arizona, by the way. That's going to be a late game for CBS. And both of these teams are actually playing a tough conference. So since the Rams lose, it could be a great opportunity for the Cardinals, the 49ers. Yeah, the 49ers, Cardinals. I think who's at 13 in it. Trying to think who's at 13 in that division. You got the 49ers, got the Cardinals. Wait, Seahawks. I forgot Seahawks. Seahawks. Well, Seahawks will probably lose that game on Monday Night Football. I'm thinking, like, what the heck am I talking about? Thank you for the like, by the way. Joel Hunter, thank you very much. I appreciate that like, by the way. And you can also follow me on as for a Stewart right on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And if you have any questions about, let's see. Hey, how you doing, Greer? I appreciate it. First time actually doing this broadcast. I'm waiting for my co-host as well. All right. So, like I said before, if you have any questions that you may want to ask about fantasy football, general questions, or what coach going to be fired, because right now, the coach right now that I more likely would think would be fired will be Pete Carroll. Because if you think about it, ever since they lost that Super Bowl 49, the Seahawks have not been the same team as ever since. And they have been making some really awful decisions since the owner, Paul Brown, died. For those of you that don't know about Paul Allen, excuse me, Paul Allen was the co-founder of Microsoft, and he also owned not just the Seahawks, but he also owned the Portland Trailblazers and the Seattle Sounders as well. So, my voice is sounding different today. I guess that's what happens when you get up in the morning, and not like I have cancer or nothing like that, but as well. So, as I was saying about Michael Pittman, Pittman is going to start off against a Texas team that is ranked 19th in a FPA to opposing wide receivers last season, although they added a top shelf quarterback in Devin Singletary, which was third pick in that draft. So the Texans should be vulnerable. Pittman should see a lot of targets from Ryan because, if you remember on Thursday's show, I actually picked the Colts to win that AFC South. Now that you have Matt Ryan, and then with the Titans, hold on a second. See somebody. Oh, somebody sent me. Somebody actually sent me a message saying that, wow. So he just sent me a message. It was one of my co-hosts from the other pregame show. It's a college football game. So he says, Vandy 63, Hawaii 10. Then my Wolverines beat Hawaii 56-10. That means Vanderbilt, the worst team in the SEC, is better than Michigan, who beat Ohio State. Translate Prof. is still math. So he just sent me that message. So thank you, Cleve, for that message. I appreciate it. And he also asked a question: how do you think Russell Wilson will do Monday? Well, when I look at this Seahawks defense, I believe this Seahawks defense is going to suck. And as a matter of fact, that is part of my clear props. As according to Superdraft, they believe that Russell Wilson will have 255 and a half passing yards. So you have a Broncos team that not only has a quarterback, but you also have a running game because they have two running backs, by the way, especially Melvin Gordon. So I expect Russell Wilson to do a lot of damage against the Seahawks team because let's be honest, I have this Seahawks team that's probably going to be like one of three teams that's probably going to be not only bad, but also looking for a quarterback. That's the way I look at it with this Seattle Seahawks team because if Seattle shouldn't have rebuilt years ago, they wouldn't be in the position like where they're at right now. So, man, so that's why I feel about Russell Wilson. But Russell Wilson should be like a top five quarterback in terms of fantasy football, to be exact. You know what I mean? But if you had Matt Stafford as your quarterback for Thursday, I don't know what to say. All right. I don't think nobody has Russell, not Russell, Stafford. I don't think nobody has Stafford on their lineup on my fantasy football because there's like six people in my league as well. All right. So yeah, that will give your question. And then you also have Dak Prescott, who's actually they're actually in Dallas because remember last time Tampa Bay they face each other at Tampa Bay, but this time the game is in Dallas. Now, because I am for those of you who don't know me, I am a Cowboys fan, so it's kind of like up and down, and then you expect that Dallas to lose, and because that offensive line is not that good, but at least Ezekiel Elliott is doing a lot better, which I'm hoping by the way, I'm hoping that he should do better. At least he gets like 100 or more yards, in my opinion. And we're expected to win that NFC East, or how people say the NFC least. And then I don't have Tampa Bay going to the Super Bowl because I think this will be a down year for Tampa. Let me see for a sec. I'm going to send me a message again. Hold on a sec. Oh my goodness. Come on, 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 come on. Not time to be funny, system. Got a pregame show to do. Oh, okay. Chris did not get the invite, so I'm gonna send that. So I'm gonna have my co-host send an invite. Oh my goodness! All right, come on. Okay, there we go. All right, there we go. So I just sent him that. I just sent Chris that invite. My co-host will be in a second right now. Let's see, he's coming. All right, he should get this. Okay, there he is. How you
Uh,
doing, Chris?
you got me, or
Yes, I can absolutely hear you.
okay? Is this better lighting, or
Oh, yes, it is better lighting. I can see it right now.
okay? I'm here.
Okay, there we go. So now we're finally back in session. So I
Yes.
was, so what I was, I think earlier ago, someone asked me a question about the Russell Wilson doing on Monday Night Football. I said he should do way better than he did with Seattle because if you look at the Seahawks defense, that Seahawks defense is probably like one of the top five worst defenses in fantasy football. You would probably agree with me with there.
Top five? Yeah, I
As
would
far as
probably
worst
say.
defense,
Oh, defense. Yeah, definitely top five should be right there, right up there.
and I said before, like this is going to be like the worst because like the Seahawks are probably not only the worst, but they'll probably like the top three worst teams to probably get a quarterback for the upcoming NFL draft.
Uh, yeah, I see it. I mean, the Hawks still win their fair share of games, but it's not going to be enough. But yeah, they'll definitely be a top five pick in the next April's draft.
And do you believe that Pete this will be like the last season for Pete Carroll because that team should have been rebuilt years ago?
You know, it wouldn't surprise me, but Pete Carroll's been at Seattle a long time, so
And this is his 13th season.
oh, then at that point, I think yes, this might be potentially his last year in Seattle. Whether it's it for him in the NFL, who knows? I mean, I'm sure somebody will give him a chance because there's always some team out there that will take a chance on Pete Carroll. Definitely, still got a good defensive mind, just not the same as it was years ago.
Because if you remember when Pete Carroll first got into Seattle, his quarterback was Charlie Whitehurst. That's how bad the team was, and they actually beat the defending champ, the Saints, in that NFC wild card. I remember that year. So it's like if it wasn't for Russell Wilson, Pete Carroll wouldn't be lasting in Seattle for that long.
Right, that was the year the Seahawks went 7-9 and won the division somehow when they beat the Rams for the division title that year. So yeah, it's been that long.
Right. Now, there's a game I was saying earlier ago that the game I'm really looking forward to because there's a couple of games at the 1 o'clock. The one they're actually playing here in the Detroit area is the Cincinnati Bengals, the defending AFC, of course, Lamar Hunt against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, when I look at these teams, I say, okay, you got Mr. Trubisky as a quarterback, and then the Bengals, they work on that offensive line. They drafted a couple of people in that offensive line because you got to remember that offensive line was pretty bad. And then you also got two good kickers from both teams, especially McPherson, because McPherson can kick a long ball, especially more than 50 yards. So I'm looking at this as like this. Pittsburgh, you got lucky that you made the postseason 2 seasons ago because Big Ben was on his last legs. But
Mhm.
now they're starting with Trubisky, and you also got Kenny Pickett. So, what do you look forward to seeing with Pittsburgh now they got Trubisky as their starting QB?
I think with Trubisky, I think this is a huge game for him because this is it's been a while since he's been a starter, and also he needs to prove that can he lead Pittsburgh to some victories. Because even though the division's kind of messed up with the whole Ravens situation, and also the Bengals are trying to defend their division title, and the Browns they probably will not be a factor at all this year, regardless whether Deshaun Watson plays later in the year. Yeah, this is a huge game for the Steelers, definitely. Trubisky would need definitely to prove can he lead the Steelers to some victories and can he lead them to a possible victory in this one? I think the Steelers are in for a world of hurt. I think they're way over in their heads. But if they pull an upset, it could mean something different for the rest of the season. And plus,
And that
the gonna have to help them out.
because I do have the Bengals winning that AFC North. Because if you look at that roster, that roster is full up. The only problem was last year was like that offensive line. So you do have Chase, you got Higgins, and then you got Burrow. Of course, he's going to be like a fantasy football. He's going to be a fantasy football for like this week as well. So it's kind of like as you were saying, like this is a very important matchup for the Steelers to win this game, especially your rivalry.
Yeah, they play twice a year. Plus, if the Steelers don't beat them now, then there's always later in the year. But by the time they play them the second time around, it could possibly be too late, or they're fighting for a possible wild card, and and you got three wild cards, and plus seeding is also always important when you go to the postseason. And if the Steelers, if they're fighting for that last wild card, they could possibly sneak in there though. But I think Steelers would have a lot of work to do. But however, it's first things first. They gotta see if they can beat the Bengals first time around. Maybe they have something here.
Exactly. Now here's one that the game is on NFL and Fox because both networks are doing a doubleheader. So that game we just playing between the Bengals and Steelers, that is one of CBS's doubleheader. That's like the game of the week. And
Mhm.
then one on Fox is the 49ers and the Bears. Now, I don't know why Fox would actually put this as like the game of the week for the single for the earlier game, but hey, it is what it is. So be
Mhm.
it. But I look at Justin Fields, especially with that Bears offense. I'm saying to myself, he's going to be in the world of hurt. I feel bad for him because he doesn't even have any offense support, and that defense is. I don't know what to say about that Bears defense. It I don't know between a C minus or a D plus with that Bears defense. It's kind of making, but the offense, I'm definitely giving an F, no question about that. But
Mhm.
I look at this Bears defense like this team is like falling apart on defense because this is not Chicago. Because Chicago, they're more about defense more than it is with offense. But it's like their history is like catching up to them.
Well, I think the Bears. I don't think they'll be much of a factor this year. It don't matter who plays quarterback for the Bears, but definitely the defense is just not what it once was, and I think the Bears will have a tough one. And as far as the 49ers is concerned, yeah, this this might be the coming out party for Trey Lance as far as to see if he can establish being a long term solution for the 49ers at quarterback, but I think that we will have to see how long will the 49ers stick with Trey Lance here because, they want to get rid of Jimmy G and then they decided to bring him back because I guess they realized there was no team out there willing to trade for him regarding the 49ers price. Yeah, and as far as and I agree with you, why Fox choose that game, I don't know. I don't see much intrigue in that game at all.
That's what I'm saying. I was like, why Fox would choose that? I know it's a doubleheader for both men, but why? That's not an appealing game. I'll
No.
rather watch the. I hate to say this. I'll probably watch the Lions and the Eagles. That's probably like a more interesting game than that.
Yes, I agree. I agree with you. Lions Eagles is way more intriguing than Bears and 49ers. Way more intriguing.
Oh my God! Come on, Fox. I know the 49ers. They couldn't have went to the Super Bowl, but it's like, come on, man, like for real. Oh my gosh, you can't make this stuff up. And
No,
then
you,
you can't make this stuff up.
you just can't.
Uh, exactly. As the late Kevin Samuels would say, you can't make this stuff up. But
Mm.
the next one. This is another one I'm very intrigued in. The Patriots and the Dolphins. Now, no surprise, the offensive coordinator for the Patriots will be Matt Patricia. So I was like, that's no surprise. And then
Mm.
you also look at like after Josh McDaniel left, the offensive has been struggling, and I don't see anything about the Patriots offense that's been like very like intriguing. But you look at the Miami Dolphins, you got Tua, and then you got that from Kansas City, Tyreek Hill. That's what his name. Because they both love quick plays. You got to admit
Right.
that. And this one, well, I have this game. I have the Dolphins win that game because if you think about it, the Dolphins, like every time when the Patriots come to Miami, they always struggle. They always struggle. So it will be like I don't want to say this would be an upset, but this wouldn't be surprising to me if the Dolphins do win against the Patriots because I can see the Dolphins being 1-0 to start the season.
I agree with you. This game is really intriguing. only because this is basically who's going to challenge for second place in the AFC. Everybody knows the Buffalo Bills own that division unless
Correct.
otherwise. So I think that this is basically whoever wins this game is probably on their way to being second place in the AFC. The Patriots, yeah, the preseason they struggled so badly, and whether it was play calling or Mac Jones, Mac Jones was struggling, and I think that this he might be taking a step back with the Patriots. As far as Tua and Tyreek Hill, that combination is going to work for the Dolphins definitely. They just have to be consistent. If that consistency works for the Dolphins, then the Dolphins they could easily do something here in that AFC East. Now, whether they have enough to challenge Buffalo, well, that's going to be a different story. And of course, Buffalo the other night, boy, they took it to the Rams in that second half. That second half got ugly in a hurry.
Right. And as a matter of fact, if you look at Tyreek Hill, he actually finished third in the NFL in receptions and seventh in yards last season.
Mhm.
So that's like, oh yeah. If you're Tua, you should be pumped up that you do have that type of wide receiver. And of course, he's going to be number one regardless anyway. And as a matter of fact, I do have him on my fantasy football roster.
Yeah,
So I'm pretty happy.
yes. People should be happy that will make the fantasy numbers go up when you have tours. So there should be no excuse on that one. So
Right. And then I also, because we were talking about the Lions and the Eagles game, I actually do have DeAndre Swift. Now, I
Mhm.
remember last year, many of the fantasy football writers were snubbing on DeAndre Swift, but then as the weeks went by, they was like, you know what, you might as well have him on your fantasy football roster. But it's like, you know what, let me take that risk, especially when you have an Eagles secondary is not that good. So he should have some, he should do some, give you some points. I'm talking about DeAndre Swift. He should, and I can say the same thing for Jalen Hurts.
yeah, Jalen Hurts. It's definitely time for him to take the next step as far as trying to be among the good or among the league quarterbacks. So this will be very interesting for the Eagles here to see if this will be what happens with them. And as far as the Detroit Lions, everybody's been waiting for them to come back and try to be good again. So, but the Detroit Lions do need to like prove that can they steal some victories? Can they get better in that NFC North? Because let's face it, it's in the NFC North. You got Packers and Vikings, so it's time for the Lions really step up here and make some noise here.
Because they should be both. I know they're going to be better than the Bears offense. They should be third
Yeah.
in that NFC North
Hmm.
because those top two teams is going to be Green Bay and Minnesota. I expect Minnesota to make it to the playoffs now that you have an offensive coordinator that is
Yes.
a head coach. And as a matter of fact, him and Kirk Cousins, they actually worked with each other when they was in Washington. So
Yes.
that's not a surprise. People don't know that part.
Mm. Kevin
Kevin
McConnell.
Scano, yes,
Yeah, that's the new coach for the Vikings. Now, the and speaking of the Vikings, they should be able to challenge Packers in that division for once. Somebody should. If not,
exactly.
if not them, then maybe the Detroit Lions can make some noise for once.
Exactly, because it's like we know the Bears are not going to do anything, so it's like either the Vikings or the Lions. But I have a great feeling that the Vikings could challenge the Green Bay, and as a matter of fact, I do have the Vikings winning that game, the first game, because I look at this Green Bay Packers team, it's like I can't even name any no wide receivers. You know what I mean? Because you don't have Devontae Adams no more because he's with the Raiders because the Raiders are playing their division rivalry. But it's just like what are we going to see with Aaron Rodgers? We know they're going to make it to the playoffs, no question about that. But it's like I
Mhm.
don't see this team making any noise in the postseason.
Hmm.
I just
Uh,
don't.
I don't either. I mean, I don't even know if they're going to get to the NFC title game with their wide receiver struggling. So the Packers they might go one and done again. And last year they put up no offense. in the divisional round against the 49ers, so they were struggling that badly. So yeah, unless their receivers change overnight, I think their postseason stay will be a short one.
Exactly. And let's be honest, they're probably like the second worst they're probably the second worst division in that NFC.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's how bad it is.
Yeah.
And then another one is the Kansas City Chiefs and the Arizona Cardinals. Now that one, I'm interested in that one because more likely I will have to watch that game on my tablet, not my tablet, but my on my laptop, and
Yeah.
then I'll probably and more likely I'll watch the Packers and Vikings game on my TV. So it's gonna be like everywhere. I'm gonna be everywhere. So when I look at these two teams, because both of these teams play in a tough division, the NFC West and the AFC West. And then I'm the Kansas City Chiefs fan. I got to be worried about that defense because early in that season, you did give up a lot of points, Kansas City Chiefs defense. And then with the Arizona Cardinals, the situation with Kyler Murray not looking at the film, looking at study and stuff like that. And then I
Hmm.
heard J.J. Watt will not be playing due to a calf injury, and they barely made it to the playoffs. So I'm not saying Patrick Mahomes is going to be not going to be a bad quarterback. We already know he's a talented. Well, both teams are have talented quarterback, but it's just like who wants it really more. But if you were to tell me, I would have to say Arizona needs it more than Kansas City does.
Hmm. I agree. If you remember last year on opening day, Cardinals they pulled the big upset against the Titans, and no one expected that. And that's something the Chiefs do need to be aware of is that the Chiefs can't sleep on the Cardinals, even though the Cardinals virtually still have the same team from last year. So if I was the Chiefs, they got to be on their P's and Q's for sure. Because if the Cardinals could pull an upset last year against the Titans, they could definitely try to pull an upset against the Chiefs. And as far as the Chiefs are concerned, they still have Patrick Mahomes, but there's only so much he could do. So, yeah, Chiefs will definitely be up against it. But I do expect Chiefs to win the game, though, and definitely cannot uh, cannot sleep on the Cardinals. That's for sure. Because if the Cardinals pull an upset, we also what happened with the Cardinals. They went on a run in the first half, but then they faltered late in the season, though.
Right. I can't wait for that going. And then also you got the Raiders and Chargers. Oh, I was like, man, I'm so bad that they won't even play it in my area. So I have to watch it on my laptop as well. So it's like, hey, no big deal. But people would rather watch it because of Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. So,
Right?
that fan base as well. So I can't get mad at that. Because
No.
with that, because with that, because with that Raiders and the Chargers, you got I don't want to say two great quarterbacks, but Justin Herbert, and then you got Derek Carr. And then just Josh McDaniels, as you know, he's an offensive guru, especially when it comes to quarterbacks. So I
Right.
expect this to be a shootout. And also, Darren Waller got a new contract. For those of you who didn't hear about that yesterday, I expect this to be like a high score game, like total probably like in the 60s or something like that.
Oh, I could. I agree. I definitely would put in the 60s, but also too. I mean, these two teams battled for the last playoff spot last year, and
Right.
it was really good. Now, here's the thing: the Raiders made the playoffs, but they didn't last too long. Now it's the Chargers' turn to see if they can make the postseason. But as far as the Chargers, and usually the story goes, whenever they have a talented team, they don't last too long or don't make much enough noise to make the postseason. So I mean, it's the Chargers' turn, but I mean that game will not disappoint though.
And then the issue I have with the Chargers is like they have the offense, but it's a matter of the fourth quarter letdowns and the defense. That's my issue is if you're a fan of the Chargers, because they
Hmm.
will let you down in games that they should win.
Right?
That's
Yeah.
my only issue with the Chargers.
Yeah. I mean the Raiders are a very good team. So the Chargers they can't sleep on the Raiders though. I mean, and plus they play twice a year, so this is and plus divisional games very important. And so if the Chargers don't beat them today, they're gonna have to wait till later in the year to play them.
Right. Because the Raiders defense is not that good as the Chargers. Let's be honest about that. Because we already know that for sure. And there was another game. Oh, let me see. Is there any other games I haven't covered for the earlier games? I'm trying to see. I did say the Patriots and Dolphins, Steelers and Bengals, Eagles and Lions, 49ers and Bears. Of course, the Browns and the Panthers. I know it's not going to be like I want to watch that game, but
O- Only because
that's
of Baker Mayfield.
exactly. That's why they're bringing it up. That's the only reason why. So I was like, the Browns are not going to get any better because Vegas has them as 5 games to win. It's,
Out of
exactly,
5, I mean,
because it's terrible.
by the time Deshaun Watson comes back, if he plays at all, it'll probably be less than that. The way it's probably going to end up going. I mean, he can't play until like sometime in November. So at that point, the season will be half over.
Exactly. So it's like put a fork in it, basically. In other words. And then you also got the Colts and the Texans because I did talk about the earlier before you came in. I was
Okay.
like, not only the Colts will win that AFC South because that's a crappy division,
Mm-hmm.
but you got Matt Ryan and Michael Pittman Jr. should do better. He did last year because last year he did had Carson Wentz, who you can't even trust as like your quarterback. But I would take Matt Ryan over Carson Wentz any day. I know people will look at me crazy because like, yeah, I'll take him over Carson Wentz. So I
Mm-hmm.
expect Michael Pittman and Jonathan Taylor to do a lot of damage against the Texas team. And so if you have them on your fantasy football team, they're like a must have, a must start.
Yeah. Everybody's got Colts winning that division. However, I would, and even though Matt Ryan's like 36 years old, and I'm sure he'll have his moments, but there's like nobody else I would pick in that division. I mean, Titans, they're not. Titans, they're going to probably fall off. But it's only between Titans and Colts in that division. Jaguars, they're rebuilding. Texans basically have nobody to depend on. So that's the entire AFC South in a nutshell.
The Titans will probably make it to like a wild card playoff. I can see that, but when you lose to your best wide receivers, it's like what else I can say? But at least you have Derrick Henry. He's gonna have. It's gonna be a lot of pressure on him. It's gonna be
Oh,
a lot of pressure on him. It's not even funny.
no. I mean, the running game's going to be right there for the Titans, but you can only do so much with that running game. You're going to have to throw the ball every once in a while.
Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Hmm.
And yeah, that's that. Yeah, I knew it was like, oh, I can't have. Not to say Derrick Henry's a bad player, but it's like it's gonna be a lot of wear and tear on him when you
Oh,
lose to your wide receivers. It's bad. That's bad.
yeah. Yeah, and definitely on draft day, that was, I mean, they traded one receiver to Philadelphia, AJ Brown. Nobody saw that coming.
Nobody. Hey, at least Philadelphia is trying to be an upcoming team because nobody ever thought that head coach would ever took the team to the playoffs last season. Everybody thought that was
Oh,
gonna be a disaster.
it nearly was a disaster, and he almost got fired before the season was over.
Right.
So,
And then also the New York Giants will face the Titans. I I don't know what happens. Even though I'm a Cowboy fan, I don't know what happened to the New York Giants ever since they won that Super Bowl. I would never expect the Giants to be like this horrible as a franchise. And then you got Daniel Jones, who's
mhm,
on this last legs. Yeah, I mean, they're not going to make it to the playoffs, but
nope.
it's like they're probably going to release Daniel Jones after this season and probably draft a QB after this.
Yeah, it looks headed that way because they did not give Daniel Jones an extension, and rightfully so. And so the Giants, I think they'll probably end up starting over. I mean, the only thing they could probably do is probably win more games than the Browns do, and that's about it.
And then I don't know anything about Saquon Barkley because he's not the same running back like he did in his earlier career in the NFL.
That's because he got hurt too much. I mean, he got injured there. He got injured there. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, I think the Giants will have to start over when this season's over, though.
and probably have to clean house. That's what I look at this with this Giants team because you would have never thought the New York Giants like that. Because when you think of the New York Giants, you think of Bill Parcells, you think of Lawrence Taylor, Harry
Hmm.
Carson, Tom Coughlin, Eli Manning. Even though Eli Manning was not my quarterback, it's like, oh, he's an exciting quarterback, but at least he did make some great things in the playoffs as well. But
Yeah.
this is a historic franchise. Like, come on.
Well, times have changed for the Giants, though, but they're just not the same anymore, though.
Right. And then Sunday night, my Cowboys will face against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, I said on Thursday's show, I said, I don't expect the Buccaneers to make it to the NFC Championship game because that team is that team is decimated. Let's just say that word. I know you have
Yeah.
Tom Brady and you have Fournette, but it's like I don't see you guys make it to the NFC Championship game because I
No.
do have the LA Rams going back to the championship game as well. I do
Mm.
see that. But this will be probably more important for the Dallas Cowboys because if you look at the Cowboys, their offensive line is not too good. You got Des Prescott, and then you got rid of Amari Cooper, which is with the Browns now. And then we don't know what Ezekiel Elliott's going to do tonight's game against the Buccaneers. So it's like, what type of team are we going to see with the Cowboys? Matter of fact, both teams, as a matter of fact, because there are people that have the Cowboys winning the NFC East again.
Well, I think the Dallas, yeah, I mean, they're shooing to win the NFC East, but they may have some bumps. Definitely this season. I mean, the Eagles are going to present a challenge to them. There's no doubt about it. And yeah, Dallas, I think that if they even get to 10 wins, that's pretty much a good year for them. But I think the Eagles are right. They're getting real close to catching the Cowboys as far as how, uh, how much of a team the Cowboys are. Uh, Ezekiel Elliott, he definitely needs to have a good year for sure because I think he might be on his last legs in Dallas. Uh, most of the receivers are going to step up. And Dak Prescott's got a lingering ankle injury, so yeah, Dallas is going to have probably potentially a bumpy season here, but they are a little better than the Buccaneers, though. Whether or not they can beat Tampa Bay, that's a whole nother story. And the thing is that you don't beat Tom Brady that often, but this might be
Right.
a rare occasion where Cowboys get up. If the Cowboys get off to a good start against the Buccaneers, they're going to take it. They're going to take it to the house on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at home.
Exactly. Because I'm hoping that my Cowboys beat the Buccaneers just to start the season off. That would be very great. That would be very terrific. It would be.
Right, right, but just don't make it close though, because if you give Tom Brady the ball last,
It, it,
as much as
it's it's bad.
yeah, usually when you give Tom Brady the ball last, yeah, he almost never disappoints.
Exactly. Because when it's like really close, you have that
Mhm.
little moment be like, oh my goodness. Please don't
Yes,
let Brady get a touchdown. Or Fournette. Because you know Fournette's more of a red zone guy.
that's true.
Exactly. And then we was talking about the Seattle Seahawks and and matter of fact with the Monday Night Football, what people don't know is Joe Buck and Troy Aikman will be able to do that game. So now it's going to be on ESPN, ESPN Plus, but it'll be also on ABC as well. So Joe Buck and Troy Aikman will be able to call that game on Monday Night Football, and then Steve Levy and Louis Riddick will call certain Monday Night Football games. So I figure like when Joe Buck and Troy Aikman do the Monday Night Football game, it'll more likely be on ABC.
Hmm. Yeah, that's interesting. They're doing a simulcast on it, but or well, not really simulcast, but I guess it'll be two different production stuff. But
Something like that. Because you'll see one on
yeah,
ESPN, then another one says ABC. So it's probably like a different production crew.
hmm, yeah. I mean, that's a good thing, though. I mean, it gets ABC gets to do Monday Night Football on some occasions.
And at least ABC will able to be doing the Super Bowl this time with the new
Yeah,
contract.
thank goodness.
He said that because
It,
it's been 16 years since they haven't broadcast the Super Bowl since Super Bowl 40
yeah, the whole Seahawks Steelers game.
Steelers game.
That
And
yeah, that was a snooze fest that year.
that was kind of like a mystery Super Bowl to this day because I had the Seahawks winning that game. There was some controversial calls in that game.
I mean, there was the one where they had scored a touchdown that was called off. There was another
Yeah,
call that
it was so controversial. I was like, "Come on, you
there was
gotta
the
be kidding me!"
offsides that the official. Oh, the Ben Roethlisberger touchdown. They missed that one too. He wasn't even at the goal line.
Like,
It
it's
was
like
pretty close.
ridiculous. It's like they wanted Pittsburgh to win that game because
Yeah,
Jerome Bettis from Detroit. So
yeah. That was his lone Super Bowl, and he went out on top.
exactly.
Yeah,
All
but
right. So like I said, this is the week one, by the way. So we're going to be doing not only the player props. So with the player props, so we're not only going to be doing the earlier games, but we're also going to be doing the Sunday night game and the Monday night football game for the player prop. So if you see that QR code as you see, that is the monthly subscription where you can register, and it is available in all 50 states. So Superdraft Pro is available in all 50 states. So if you have a tablet, you can scan it right now. But if you have like a phone, or it's like an Android or like a Apple device, I would recommend you full screening that because if you just do it like a normally would, it won't be able to scan. So I recommend you having it in full screen so that way it can be fully scanned and then you can get started your account with Superdraft Pro where you can get like your lineup as well. As a matter of fact, on Thursday, I actually posted it on Facebook. I actually finished third on the contest, so that's the highest I've ever done. So usually I don't get any luck on Thursday night. Usually. Okay, so here we go with the first one. So, because we're starting with the earlier game. So, DeAndre Swift, 31 and a half receiving yards. I expect this to go over because I did mention that the Eagles secondary is not that great. So, I expect him to get over 31 and a half receiving yards.
hmm, wow, that seems too low. I think I'll get more than that. I say higher.
Yeah, I don't know why that's even higher anyway. The next one, Marcus Mariota, 219 and a half passing yards. Now, he's playing with the New Orleans Saints, and I'm saying to myself, oh my goodness, it's a wishy-washy on here. I would probably say a little bit less. A little bit less.
Let's see, 219. Ooh,
Exactly.
I, I would say less only because he may fall short of it if it comes to that.
Right. Because it is a rivalry game as well. The next one, Tua, 1.5 passing touchdown. This one's another wishy-washy on this one. I would have to say a little bit higher just to be exact since you have Tyreek Hill. So I expect this to be higher than 1.5 passing touchdown.
I would go higher as well. I mean, especially I think well, I'd probably end up with three and then win the game.
Exactly. And then I told you before, like I do see the Dolphins winning against the Patriots since the game is in Miami.
Yes.
Exactly. The next one, it is Saquon Barkley, 55 and a half rushing yards. Now I'm saying to myself, okay, hold on a second. I know this is Tennessee, but
Mm-hmm.
we don't know what's the status of Saquon Barkley status. Is he going to be like the same player? I'm going to take a risk on this one. I'm going to say higher on this one. I'm going to say higher.
Oh, sheesh. And
Exactly.
he can get hurt at any point. I'm going to say lower, only because if he doesn't go past the first half, then it's probably lower.
Okay. Then you also have Kyler Murray. with 0.5 interceptions. Well, zero point 0.5 interception. I can see this a higher. I can see Kyler Murray throwing an interception. I can see that.
I would go higher. There's a chance they can turn the ball over. I say higher.
Yeah, that should be a no-brainer. And
Hmm.
then also in the system, I didn't put Kirk Cousins, 272 and a half passing yards. Now, this one's like a mystery on this one. This one's kind of like a mystery. Now, if Kirk Cousins do play well, I could see this game as higher, especially when you have an offensive person as a head coach.
Hmm.
I could see this as higher, 272 and a half, but it won't be easy.
No. 272. I'm gonna go higher as well.
Exactly. So those are the earlier games for the 1 o'clock and 425. Now we're
Hmm.
going to go with the Sunday night football player props with
Yep.
the Cowboys and the Buccaneers and the Cowboys because the game is in Arlington. Tom
Right.
Brady, 273 and a half passing yards. I'm going to say a little bit lower. I'm going to say a little bit lower because that offense is not this. The Buccaneers offense is not the same as it was. So I'm going to say a little bit lower.
I would say I'm gonna take a risk on them because they still have the wide receivers, and if they somehow break out, then probably potentially a good game, but they may still lose. I go higher because he may get the yardage during garbage time.
Next one, Ezekiel Elliott, 43 and a half rushing yards. Another mystery one. I'd probably say higher on this one. I probably would say higher. Only if the offensive line can give Ezekiel Groom a lot of time to run the football.
43 yards, boy, that's too low. And boy, it's tricky because of the offensive line, but I'm gonna say higher.
Exactly. Leonard Fournette, 55 and a half rushing yards. Now, as you know, with Leonard Fournette, he always goes to the red zone, the goal line for a touchdown.
Hmm.
This one is a kind of a question mark on this one. I'm going to say a little bit higher, probably like in the 65 ish.
He definitely I would say higher. He definitely gets more than 55. Whether he gets in the 60s, there's no telling. It depends on how the game goes.
Exactly. Dak Prescott, 24 and a half completions. I can see that as a higher one. I can see this as higher.
24 positions. You know what? He's got a lingering ankle injury, so I would say lower just in case.
Okay. That's a wishy washy on that one. Forgot about he had that injury. And then Tony Pollard, 30 and a half rushing yards. I'm going to say a little bit, oh boy. I'm going to say a little bit lower. I'm going to say a little bit lower.
I got lower as well, just in case. Lower.
Exactly. I would love to have him a performance, but it's like Ezekiel Elliott is going to have more carries than Tony Pollard, so I'm going to say lower.
Hmm.
Exactly. Okay, so that is the Sunday night football. Now we're going to go to Monday night football. All right. Russell Wilson, 255 and a half passing yards. I want to say higher, but I don't. He doesn't have to have 255 and a half passing yards, but I would have to say a little bit lower.
Mm, I I think he goes higher. I think that he wants to prove that to Seattle that trading him was a mistake. I say higher than 255.
All right. Geno Smith, the quarterback, the starting QB for the Seahawks,
Hmm.
207 and a half passing yards. I could see this. I could see this as higher. At least you have, at least you have your great wide receiver for the Seahawks,
Hmm.
DK Metcalf. At least you have him. But the question will be like, how accurate will he be? So I could say higher.
Oh, I think that Geno Smith's going to have to play out of his mind. I would go higher for him.
The next one, this definitely should be higher. Jerry Judy, 58 and a half receiving yards. I can see this as higher. Now that you have Russell Wilson as your QB.
Hmm. Boy, 58. Yeah, I say higher as well.
because that was a low number anyway. So it's like, go figure. Title Lockett, 48 and a half receiving yards. I can see this also as a higher number.
Yeah, all you need is one long pass to do it. Yeah, I say higher.
Yeah. DK Metcalf, I see this number. I see this is higher as well. DK Metcalf, 56 and a half receiving yards.
Mm. Yeah, I say higher for him.
Right. And then Noah Font, 20. This one's a mystery. This one. Noah Font, 28 and a half receiving yards. This is not going to be easy. I'm going to say higher. So I'm going to say higher on this one.
I go with higher as well. I mean, he'll get probably a couple of catches.
But he's not going to be like an it factor.
No, that would have to take something dramatic for that one, though. I just think that probably will get like two, maybe three targets if he's lucky.
Right. And if you're having on fantasy football, all you can do is just cross your fingers.
Yeah.
That's all I got to say.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we got the player props. So now we're going to do the over and under. All right. So we have the Steelers and Bengals. I thought this number was low. The total is 44 and a half. I can see, as long as Trubisky plays well, I can see this number going higher.
44.
44 and a half, actually.
You see the Trubisky factor. I think it's lower because if some of the drive stalls, then yeah, I think I see it lower than 44.
Okay. The Colts and Texans, 46. I thought this was like super high. I'm going to go with lower on this one. I know they have Matt Ryan, but
Mhm.
many people don't even know who the Texans QB is.
Davis
So I'm
Mill,
going to, yeah, nobody don't know him, but he had some interesting stats last season that many people don't know about. So I'm going
right?
to go lower on this one.
I can see definitely lower. Davis Mills, I don't think he developed any further than last year, and of course in the preseason that I didn't see anything that convinced me otherwise. So lower in that game.
Next one, the Chiefs and Cardinals. Now, this one's 54. I see this. This is a right number. If you are a person that's looking for the over or under, I see this as an over, especially when you have both teams, both, as a matter of fact, both quarterbacks that love to run the football. But Patrick
Hmm.
Mahomes has the edge in terms of accuracy. So I have this as an over.
Oh, 54.
Yeah.
I don't know about a high shootout game with this one, but it wouldn't surprise me. I'll take a risk and go higher on this one.
Yeah, we both agree that's a higher. Green Bay and Minnesota,
Hmm.
46 and a half. I thought this was like, it's okay. It's okay number. I can see this as higher. 46 and a half. I can see this as a higher number. I can see this high.
If not for the Packer wide receivers, I'm saying lower on the basis of that.
It depends on what the wide
If
receiver
they
for
don't
Green
drop the
Bay and how they
ball
do on third downs.
so much.
And then also the Green Bay Packers third downs. That's going to also be a factor on that one. Next one, we have the Raiders and the Chargers. And I told you before, like I can see this game like as a total like in the 60s. It's 52 and a
Yeah,
half. I can see this as over.
because so during the preseason, yes, over as well on
Chris, are
this
you
one
still
here.
here?
Still there? John?
Okay, I'm still
Yeah, I'm
okay.
sorry. Yeah, over
Okay.
on the
You said the over on the Raiders and Chargers?
yes.
So
I did
okay,
say
gotcha.
over.
Okay. And then the Bucks and the Cowboys, total is 50. I'm gonna say over on this one.
I would say over on the Cowboys Buccaneers one.
because both quarterbacks can throw the
Hmm.
touchdown, and then of course Leonard Fournette in the red zone scoring a touchdown, that's going to be a factor, and then Ezekiel Elliott, he'll probably score a touchdown, a rushing
Yeah,
touchdown as well. So that is kind of be
yeah.
like a mystery.
Hmm.
All right.
Okay.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. So it looks like this is it for the Football for Sunday pregame show. We will be back next Sunday at 10 to 11 with an additional couple of people will be on the pregame show. So, like I said, it's the first week. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. That S for A Stewart. And where can my listeners find you, Chris?
They can find me at Chriswood Sports on both Twitter and Instagram, and you can follow my sports blog, the Chriswood Sports, on Facebook as well.
All right. So thank you guys and enjoy your game. And you can rewind this. As a matter of fact, you can actually rewind it. So that way you can check the player props. And like I said, scan that QR code on the right corner so you can get started with Superdraft Pro. Now, if you want to start a business, my email, as a matter of fact, I'm going to put my email address, by the way. Let me find it. Oh, I just deleted it. So if you want to contact me about Superdraft Pro, my email address is Shawn SHAWN Stewart at sportforamerica.com to know about Superdraft Pro and how to get started as well. So to be a coach, it's like $40 a year, and then if you want to just play, just go to get started and then choose your package as well, and still use the email address. And please put the subject so that way I'll know what you were talking about. All right. So thank you so very much. You guys have a nice and wonderful Sunday and 21st anniversary of September 11th. So thank you very much. So you guys have a nice and wonderful Sunday.